at 9. Tune in every time. We don't do no cap. Report only facts.
Shout out to the Progress Report for having Sabah Political Solutions, or AKA Politics or Politicking, on tonight live. Y'all can run that back on Instagram or YouTube. I'm Sabah.
I'm Jayme. Oh, that's it.
Bye, y'all.
The Progress Report.
All right, what's going on, guys? This is your girl, Lala Shepherd.
Boss Brit the most lit.
What's up? It's DJ Excel.
Hey, this is the Progress Report podcast. We got two special guests in the building. Ladies, introduce yourselves, please.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sabah.
Oh, hi, everybody. I'm Jayme.
Okay. Cool.
Welcome to the Progress
Yes,
Report.
welcome. I know
for having us.
Just threw us off like. But now, thank y'all for being here tonight. We are going to talk politics. I think it's something that I think more people now are more interested just with the climate of things.
Facts.
But a lot of us still don't know basic things that may be basic to you guys, but we don't know some stuff. So
people don't know what they don't know.
Yeah,
Right.
So we appreciate y'all.
You know, if you don't know, you don't know.
And then you might find out.
Okay.
No, we appreciate y'all. We definitely need more of this,
Yeah.
So salute to y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
For real.
Thanks.
So give us y'all backgrounds and talk about y'all company as well.
Okay, you start. Go ahead.
So I'm Sabah. I'm a political science doctoral student at Clark Atlanta. I have a BA in political science and an MPA in international administration and development management. I'm also a serial entrepreneur.
Okay.
I have an international consulting firm called Sabah's Global Enterprise. I also have a nonprofit called the Dorothy Keith Foundation, and Jayme and I also have our political consulting business called Sabah Political Solutions. And I'm sure we'll get into how we get started probably after Jayme gives her intro.
Yeah, so I'm Jayme. I'm originally from New Orleans, but I grew up in Stone Mountain. So my undergrad is from Kennesaw State in African American Studies and Health Promotions. I have a master's from Clark Atlanta in Public Policy, and I'm also a doctoral student in Political Science at Clark Atlanta University. This is my first baby. She kind of pushed me, and she was like, we need to start a business, because we started off as a podcast too. And because she is so business minded, she like, we just gonna have to move this along now, girl. So we created Sabah Political Solutions.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's what's up. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, but it was necessary too, because our podcast, Politics or Politicking, which is the social media handle for all of our social media platform, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and
That's it.
Okay, well, but we were recording, and we started off slowly, but then we were recording like crazy. I mean, 5-6 episodes a month, maybe.
Yeah. So when everything kind of jumped off in May, we both are. So wait, let me back up. This is how we started. So we have seminar every Tuesday. It's open to the public. Department of Political Science opens it up to the public, and we have different speakers that come in. We talk about different political ideas.
Right.
And
I
was
was
like,
domestic but international speakers.
Okay.
and I was like, Sabah, people need to get this information some other kind of way. Let's start a podcast. So she was like, boom. She got on the computer, and she had a logo. I was like, oh wait,
She
like,
don't
that
play.
quick. I was like, that quick, like dang. And so she has all the stuff set up in her house. Like she got mic, she got a soundboard. So we was like, okay, well, we just about to go. We just gonna go.
Right.
So we did 2 introductory episodes that were just different.
Yeah.
But then when everything popped off in May, people were looking for us to say something. So political science is interdisciplinary. A lot of times when we are listening to newscasters, they're not political scientists. They're political commentators. Political science intersects so many social sciences. It is a comprehensive analysis. So most of the time when people are explaining things to you on the news, it's not nuanced. They don't have time to explain things all the way through. So in our podcast, we take what's going on at the moment, and we dissect it, and we'll tell you, this is what's actually going on. This is how it impacts you. This is how it impacts our community. Both of us identify as Black women, so this is how it impacts us. So in May, when everything jumped off, we were in the streets. We were asking people what do you think about this? What protest is necessary, but how do we move past this? So 5 or 6 episodes we're circling around. So 2 are on COVID, when COVID first jumped off. We started 2 episodes. So we went and talked about legislation, and then how we ended up to where we are now. And then when protests popped off, it was just everything was falling in a row. Because people, like you said, so when we started the podcast, I'm gonna start rambling. I'm gonna let her jump in. But when we start the podcast, we always say we want to feed the streets. So when we sit in class and we read these like elaborate, theory papers, they be 30 pages long, and then we got to sit with a highlighter and like go get a dictionary. So we should be able to, as scholars at the level that we're at, we should be able to translate that to give it back to the streets.
Absolutely.
So when we say feed the streets, we trying to translate all this political stuff.
Dumb it down for us, please.
No, not dumb it down.
Dumb it down. What does this mean? Because I know it means something.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Because sometimes stuff doesn't have to be as difficult as it's out there and it kind of does limit us, and they're just speaking their language.
Because it can be intimidating.
It's very intimidating. But one thing I can say too, again, as she mentioned with the podcast, we saw just monitoring our downloads and how many people listen. There was a huge uptick, and we were just like, we got to take this beyond this podcast, beyond my house. We got to get out here and do more. So then that's when we bridged into the business, so we could do more. Now we're offering a book scholarship. We've also been out there in the streets being activists and trying to really understand what the people are out there protesting for, so we can bridge that gap, take what the people really want, and try to do some change or influence with it, take it back to those who are the decision makers, the policy makers, bridge that gap between the scholar and the activist, the legislators and the activists. And that's what we're really trying to do. We're trying to offer substance, something that sticks, not just something that goes in one ear and out the other, or just over your head. Because politics is necessary, and as political scientists, we study it. We study politics.
That makes so much sense.
There's a speech by Malcolm X. I teach too, so both of us have to teach undergraduate students, and the first thing I make them do is watch Malcolm X Ballot or the Bullet speech. It is the most powerful speech, and in that speech he tells us, like, if you are not aware of the political systems that you are forced to be a part of, because if you don't participate, you're still a part of it. Then every time somebody comes in office, they're not going to do what's good for you. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what we say. So if we don't understand, then we end up where
being
we are
victim to
now.
And that's exactly what he talks about. If you don't understand the politics in your community, like if you basically don't understand how your hood operates, and how anybody can come in who knows a little bit, right, and easily hoodwink you or bamboozle you into believing that their interest is your best interest. And we can no longer stand by and allow people to come into our communities and try to influence our thoughts and our decision makers and make us believe, all right, this is what we really need, when it's not. Because we're not, you have to take a holistic approach. We're not monolithic, as she always likes to say. Look at us. We're all black, but we're different shades of black. All of our wants and needs are different, depending on where you are on the socioeconomic scale, depending on where you are educationally. Everybody's needs are different, so you have to try to comprehensively study what the needs of the citizens are, or your constituents, your people, whatever term you like to use, and really go about making some change. And that's what we are here for.
What are you guys' thoughts on the upcoming election? Because this is the big critical year, and I think again it's waking people up. You know what I mean? I think before people were aware, but I think now people are really like, okay, look, I got to do something. So talk about that.
So this is my area. Sabah be trying to back up. I'm pulling her in. So I want everyone, particularly black people, to understand that democracy in this country exists in layers. So we're like, oh, we live in a democracy. It's not really. We live in a republic. So if democracy exists in layers, at the top doesn't impact you as much as you think it does. It does. It has some weight. It definitely has some weight. I'm gonna put a pin in that because I want to circle back to Kamala Harris. So what I tell my undergrads, I drill this into their head. Whatever ding dong is doing up top, it impacts you, but you need to be focused on
local.
Your state and local politicians.
Exactly.
Your state and local politicians allocate funding to policing. They allocate funding to education, to healthcare, to parks and rec. So all this business of police brutality, yes, the federal government needs to address it, but on the state and local levels, they write legislation that directly dictates what police officers can do. So the qualified immunity keeps getting brought up, right? Qualified immunity is in the Constitution, and it says that if a person that works for government hurts you or kills you in the line of duty, they get a pass, they get off, right? So that is important because it's secure. If in fact someone is acting in good faith, so let's say you go to an emergency person comes to pick you up and something happens to you and you die and it's out of their control. If we remove qualified immunity, it makes these people scared to do their job because now they don't want to touch you. What happens next is on the state level, the state and local government. Keisha Lansbottom and Brian, him.
You must not like him, because girl, you know his name.
They have direct impact on policing in Georgia. Policing in Georgia looks different from that in Florida because the populations are different. We don't want a national police force because that's a mess. That's not. You don't police Atlanta the same way you police LA, the same way you police Miami because it's different, right? So what we have to do as a community is figure out who our state legislators are, and let me tell you, there's so many state legislators that go unopposed. That means when they get to the polls, there's nobody running against them, and they pass bullshit laws. They push them through. They're passing thousands of laws a year, and we don't pay any attention to it because we focus on ding dong. So we need to be more. We need to know who our state legislators are. We need to know who the interest groups are who are advocating. So these are groups and private entities that go up to Capitol Hill and say, we want X, Y, and Z passed. The NRA is the richest, most wealthiest interest group. They call, but even the people that don't have money that support the NRA, they be calling they state legislators. They email them. We need this passed because this is infringing on our Second Amendment. They are very active, so they get what they want all the time. The same thing with AARP. So we have to use these same tactics. We have to engage. That's the bottom line. Right. We don't have a choice at this point not to engage. So state and local politics are more important than your national. But I'm gonna circle back to Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
We have a difficult time understanding that two truths can exist at one time. Kamala Harris is the first black woman to be put in this major position of vice presidency, right? We may not all the way agree with her politics. She was a prosecutor. Yes, she was. I listened to her earlier this morning. They was rolling some tapes with her, and people were like, "Oh, this is wrong. This is wrong." She was. I'm not gonna say that she was right. She was doing her job as a prosecutor. When it comes to interrogation or like asking questions, she's a beast. If you watch how she interviewed what's that man's name? William Barr, the Attorney General, to be accepted as the Attorney General, she was drilling him. That's what we want. Yes. The breadth and scope of what the vice president can do depends on the president. So Kamala Harris, yes, it's monumental that she is an elected black woman as a vice president. Her and Joe Biden have to be held accountable just like everyone else has to do. I don't know like why that's such a big thing. On the national level, you vote for people who closely align with your ideology because there is no perfect candidate.
Right.
People, they're human.
Yeah,
so we have to have nuanced conversations. We have to have like and but conversations about these things because it's not everything is not a silver bullet. It's not a one and done kind of thing. Joe Biden, I believe that Joe Biden is going to do one term, and then Kamala Harris is setting herself up to be the president for the next 8 years. And so we have to both engage with that. We have to hold her accountable. We have to hold the whole cabinet accountable. We have to hold the elected officials accountable. That's the bottom line. I don't care if it's Donald Duck in there.
But you know what I think is major is that we do pay him so much attention. But even with this coronavirus, I realized how important it was for the mayor and governor. Even like with Keisha going against Brian, I was like, oh, they really the ones really making the rules out here. And I don't think we really pay that as much mind as we should, especially locally, like you're saying.
And I will add, to echo my friend's sentiments here, or to drive some points. One, we can't see the forest for the trees, and that goes back to what you just said. We're so busy looking at the federal level that we don't pay attention to the local politics at the state level, even municipalities. We don't understand how much of an effect that they have on us as well, because we're paying attention to all of these news media or news outlets and looking at the government, and constitutional rights. So a lot of people don't know that states have constitutions also. That's different from the federal or the U.S. Constitution. A lot of us don't know that or know the basics, and a lot of us are only concerned with presidential elections every 4 years. What about elections that happen every 2 years?
Georgia literally has an election damn near every year for something, whether it's school board, county commissioners, district reps. They have
sheriffs.
Georgia is an electing state.
And people, I feel like people don't get involved into affects them in a negative way.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's something we all need to step up on too.
We really have to.
Like if taxes affects your tax, now it's an issue. Now I want to be involved when.
Right. I think we become so accustomed to putting out fires that we're not proactive. It's like,
we're very
like I'm not, I don't see nothing burning. I'm cool. I'm not gonna do anything. But then when we see a fire, it's too late. We can't continue to go down that rabbit hole. And as Jayme was also saying about holding these politicians accountable, we're not doing that. We vote and like, all right, well, our person didn't get in the office, so I'm done, or we have to wait till the next election. No, you don't. You can email, you can call, you can mail, you can show up and knock on the state capitol or whatever office or that you need to go to. Right, you can hold them. We don't understand how much power we have. Even when we were talking earlier about members of Congress, there are 535 members of Congress, right?
On the federal level.
And at the federal level, and you have the House and you have the Senate, right? So Senate is 100 members, 2 representatives from each state, and then the House the members of House are based on the number of people in your state, right? Based on the population. That trickles back down to the importance of completing the census form. If you don't have representation in your state, or to show that you live there, it's 5 of us up here, but 2 of us complete the census, then the money that's allocated to our local schools
is only for the 2 people, not 5.
It would only be for the 2 people, not 5. Why? Because y'all districts only have 2 people. We don't need to give you all this money to fund schools. We don't need to give you all this money for infrastructure. So the potholes that you got in the street, and then it's only bothering 2 people.
Probably a lot of people in the hood are not doing these census, and then the hood is underfunded.
Right.
And then it's a whole trickle effect, like you're saying.
And then we complain that our schools don't have textbooks. Well, why? They don't know how many kids in our school systems. And and one last point I would like to drive is about, voting. Of course, there's no perfect candidate. We get that. But we want the worst one out of position, right? And then you look at Biden and Harris. Do y'all know who's on the Green Party ticket right now?
Not a clue.
Hawkins and Walker. It's a black woman and a white man. And a lot of people are talking about voting for the Green because they're like pushing a more socialist agenda, right? Trying to legalize marijuana and so on and so on. But
they got Brits vote.
It's so hard to keep up with everything, man. I will say it's so
especially when you got personal problems.
It's so overwhelming. Cause like this year I learned so much, like with the going out to protests and whatnot. Like this year hit different, I feel like. I did learn so much more about how important it is to like start learning about politics and stuff, because I used to be like, I don't vote for anybody black, but then when I started learning about these people, they be doing fucked up shit, bro. Like signing off all kind of shit that's unfair and just. So
I always think about
you really
Meek
do
Mill's
gotta.
judge was a black woman.
He was really do gotta learn about those other people that are in line. So like, what do we like? Is there a website like a Instagram where we can just go and like look up people profiles? Like, are y'all creating something like that to not dumb it down, but to make it more?
The pros and cons.
I have I can like give y'all the handle to put in, but one of my friends has an app. It's called Politiscope, POLITISCOPE. So he uploads credible sources about it. So he will sit and read 30 articles and decide which articles he's going to upload on the app. On the app, you can see who your state representative is, what they're getting ready to sign, like what bills they introduced, where the bill is, if it's been signed into law, who voted on the bill. It's a very comprehensive app. You can scroll. It's so easy to use. He did such a good job. We had him on our podcast about 2 months ago, asking him like how he got started, and he also was like, I'm sick of this political ignorance. Like we can't sit and just be politically ignorant anymore. Like we can't afford to.
I agree.
So I think I think that there are more people listening because people want political education, and that education is not offered K through 12. Like the first time I took a government class, I was in 9th grade. It was a civics class, and it was an elective. It wasn't even required, right? And so that's when you get to find or you get to know the basic systems and like how a bill becomes a law. A lot of folks don't know how a bill becomes a law. So all this is important, and so at this point though, we can't look backwards. We can only look forward. So education, making civics a part of the Georgia standard in K through 12 instead of an elective needs to be on the docket moving forward.
It's crazy.
There's so much that needs to be added
that we can bring to our state legislators. Introduce that as a bill. Finances, yes. All that needs to be circled through on the state, because states have, y'all, the 10th Amendment allows for states to have rights. It's like 50 countries trying to operate under one central government. I'm not going to get into the history behind that because it's a lot. But if you think about it like that, it really don't matter what's going on in Florida, how they dealing with the virus, because you got another set of issues going on here in Georgia, right? And you can see that play out more in the media because they're reporting how different states are dealing with it. So like Cuomo was like the shining example of what you needed to do for coronavirus, and like how to get your economy going, and like the do's and don'ts, right? Because it was an epicenter. That is going to be drastically different because we have a different economy here in Georgia. We have different industries here in Georgia, so it affects us differently. Yeah. And so we have to.
Georgia open. Georgia said, "Listen,
y'all." They like, we need to get this money. We need to get this money. Keep it open. Keep it open.
We were the first day to open.
I was gonna say
we were the first.
But but I would like to circle back to this whole Green Party thing too, because I hear a lot of chatter about it. But you have to understand that they have to receive enough signatures to even be added to the ballot
in each state.
Got you.
Because each state facilitates election regulations and party regulations.
What is the Green Party?
It's just like the Republican, Democrat. It's
independent?
Party. It's not independent. It's an official.
Oh, damn.
It's an official party. They
and it's literally called the Green Party.
It's the Green Party.
I've never
They have a website and everything.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and you can see a lot of their followers.
Are green. No, I'm just kidding.
And that's why we brought y'all here, all right?
It was a joke to light up the room, guys.
Right. Buddy.
But yeah, you can. But what I would like to say, if you really want to see your vote, count, vote for those whose views closely align with yours. Again, there's no perfect party, but you want to get something closer to what you believe in, and then go from there. Again, we trying to hold them accountable. But we were talking about just learning and all of that. When we started getting deeper into all of this and really trying to quote unquote feed the streets, it was crazy to see just how rampant political ignorance and political naivete is in our community.
So bad.
And I mean, we're all ignorant to a certain extent. We don't know everything.
Yeah.
But even when it comes to politics, it's like, why are we running and hiding from this?
Right.
Politics, there's a definition of politics that I like. It's who gets what, when, and how. And if you are not in that conversation, if you're not politically engaged, who dictates what you get and how? Don't you want to sit at the table?
Right.
Don't you want to be involved in that conversation? You don't have to be politically astute and know everything, but you can get out there and start a conversation.
Right. I think it's kind of discouraging a little bit, because sometimes I think we don't feel like our vote really, really matters. Especially when Hillary, Trump, won that, and then it still was out of our control. It's like, this some bullshit.
Let me tell you,
Interesting.
the electoral college is dictated by census data that y'all do not like to fill out every 10 years.
Electoral college, the number of electoral votes each state get
is on population,
increase or decrease based on the number of people in the population, based on population.
It's
if you don't
big
do
ass
census, you don't get somewhat of an accurate depiction of how many people in your population.
Wild.
So
Goodness.
who even came up with this notion of staying below the radar and off of the grid? You got a social security number.
You have a driver's license.
Nah,
you have a cell phone.
Crazy.
You're not off the grid.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was a census worker. If I come to your house,
I know you look familiar. So no.
I just got up.
No, I was just playing.
Right, unless you're from Alabama. But whatever you tell me to put, that's what I have to record. So if you say you're a black man, you're still getting counted as a person, but you're getting counted as a black man.
Wow.
Right, which I found very interesting. I'm like, but what if it don't matter?
Right.
You have to record what they say, unless it has changed. But
got you. Let me ask y'all. So, what's some things that people can be aware of? Like, say for instance, they don't want to take the time to read. Like, just go over a couple of basic things that they should be aware of.
You don't want to read.
Because I'm speaking for you got people, you got young people, young voters. They just might not take the time to do the due diligence. So let's kind of talk to them.
I was about to say, one, we have a podcast. Yeah. There are so many podcasts out there, but check the sources, right? Make sure that they're coming with facts. But turn off the music for at least 30 minutes a week, right? That'll make a big difference, and then increase it as you go along. But turn on a podcast and turn off the music. I have to push myself to do the same because I like riding and vibing, right? But I have to listen to these podcasts. I have to stay current. So turn that off, turn on the podcast and listen to it. Turn off whatever you watch on TV and turn on the news. 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Do you think the news is
the news?
I would say but only to trigger thoughts. Maybe not to wholeheartedly inform you about certain decisions, but just to get you to start thinking about certain things. In addition to sports or music or anything like that, but just to, again, trigger or start conversations, because you might walk up to your homeboy or homegirl like, man, I was listening to the news for 2 minutes, and they said that, there's a Green Party. And like, what's a Green Party? And then it starts a conversation. We're not even having conversations, but we don't even know what to talk about. So just something to trigger those thoughts, trigger those conversations. Especially if you don't. But at the end of the day, really, you gotta read.
I was gonna say, politics is not entertainment. I think so. I watch, how they attract the black vote, right? So they'll get Beyonce, right? Hillary Clinton, last minute,
Diddy
got all these black celebrities to endorse them at the last minute, and we have to stop wanting everything to be entertainment. That is how you get fooled very easily, right? And then black celebrities, they're in a different tax bracket than we are. True. Right? We're making them rich, so their experience their experience.
Go ahead, sis.
Their experience is very different from ours. So while we may have black celebrities that come to speak on behalf of our lovely mayor, the experiences that they have when they go back to their mansion is very different from the ones that we have, right? So we need to keep these things in mind. When they tell us stop messing up the property and all these things, these folks have insurance on their stuff. They will be just fine. They're going to cut a check and they're going to be fine. So the destruction and rebellion is something that is in our DNA. We have been doing that since forever, right? This is not something new. If you go back and read a little bit of Black history, I encourage everyone to read some kind of Black history, because all these things that we think are new, they're not. I'm listening to some of these activists.
And if you go to our website, we got
a book list. We have a movie list. Right. But I'm listening to some of these activists, and they're like, black people have never done. It's in our DNA. We've been fighting for a long time. You need to be careful of the words that you use. So rebellion instead of violent protest, right? All these words signal different things to us. So how the news reports things is how we're internalizing them.
Or these thugs.
Right. You need to be cognizant of these things, and you need to just make sure you are getting the story straight, because as soon as we don't tell the narrative, then somebody else is going to take it and run with it. And white folks love to do that. They love to twist it up and spit it back out. So we have to be cognizant of these things. You gotta read. I tell my kids that all the time.
See, that'd be an issue for me though, because I don't know what to believe, because everybody got different views, and it's all right, so what do I really, because everyone has different perspectives when it comes to different things, so it's what do I really latch on to? But it's who really got the facts, because everybody kind of got different views on it when it comes to different stuff.
Well, it's kind of hard to even say, because when you're reading, first you have to read from an objective perspective. You can't even go in or reading something that's written objectively, right? Because a lot of the times when you write, you're writing from a certain perspective or a certain point that you want to get across. So sometimes when we read, we're reading something that closely aligns with what we believe, and then we're also trying to read or write something with that's similar, right? So you have to begin just reading. Again, we have a whole list of suggested books, but when you begin to read, I think it triggers certain thoughts. Like, you know what, some things just don't sit well with what I'm reading. And then you begin to critique what you read. And then that will also push you to look up the author and look up their values and their beliefs, and then see whether or not they closely align with yours. Because if you look up somebody who wrote something and you're looking at their politics and they're mainly conservative, and then you wonder why it doesn't sit with you, that's how you know you don't believe what you read. Because they're coming from a conservative perspective. Not that all conservative perspectives are completely
different,
right wing or right or staunch. Because even I give my students this political quiz, and a lot of them are shocked to see that a lot of their views are more conservative than liberal. But then once you get into being formally educated and doing other things, you move up into that bourgeois bracket. But when you read, start reading something that that interests you, something that's on the subject that you're interested in studying, and then just begin to look up the sources that they use to write, and then look up the person who wrote the book. And then I think that'll kind of direct you in the right path, because you would be more inclined to read something maybe written by Francis Cress Welsing or Martin Luther King more so than I don't know. I haven't read a white author in so long.
Yeah, I mean,
That's not real.
What's the black guy that's he's a conservative with the glasses,
I'll be reading this.
the afro.
That's
Oh, I know you're talking about. I don't know why my mind blank. I know you're talking about. Yeah. Not Al.
No.
Ain't got no afro.
Shit. Well, the guy.
The guy with the afro.
But you know what I mean. So you just began to read stuff, and then you'll just see how they lay out the facts too.
Right.
Basic history, basic civics will come back, and you're like, you know what, something just ain't lying.
Right.
This chronological order that y'all just put together is not even right.
I have a question. Do y'all think, like, I know coronavirus is very real, right?
Yeah.
But then also that, you know, you hear a lot like, yo, crazy stuff happens around, you know, election time and stuff. And then I see how, like, some places are saying, like, not accepting cash and stuff.
A lot of places.
You know, and
Coin shortage.
And this is kind of making me be like, hold up. You know, either we just believe what we're being told, or you just step back and be like, damn, this is a really fast way to force people to get rid of their money and other than saying, hey, we're trying to just go, you know,
crypto and all that shit, yeah.
But anyway, do y'all think, like, some of it, or, like, how the seriousness, I don't want to do seriousness, but, like, how deep they're making it has anything to do with politics?
It's all political.
It definitely is all political. I don't even know where to start.
But there was something that was produced today, or a report that was put out that said Trump knew how serious this virus or pandemic was back in February. But
I heard that too.
It.
Yeah.
So I think it's serious. We are downplaying it, but I think we also got to take into consideration too that, again, at the local level, a lot of these multinational these big companies, also trying to protect themselves and their employees and don't want to be held responsible or liable for a lot. So because money is so dirty, and trying to sanitize it when it exchanges one hand to another,
Gotcha.
then I think that's one way to really protect themselves.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to see us going back to, because a lot of people don't use debit credit. They don't have,
especially older people, especially people like in the hood,
in the streets.
A lot of foreign nationals, and a lot of people. That's true. A lot of people in disadvantaged communities.
Absolutely.
They don't really trust. I know people to this day.
Yeah, for real. Like,
but that's why I'm
keep
saying,
money under their mattress.
Yeah, no, for real.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I still feel like it always affects. That's why, you know what I mean. Like, the hood keeps like getting, you know, especially like older people, no, they could have like $100,000 in their house and be like,
in the chest.
I'm not messing with
in the old treasure box.
My friend's granddad freezes his money.
Oh shit!
Where he live at? Nah, just to make sure
Everything's okay.
Deep south.
But what do you mean freezes his money though?
No, he freezes like a block of money. He doesn't believe in banks and stuff either.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah. So how y'all thought though? I'm just trying to picture when he
right.
What is he
But
doing?
you know
Just
what's
leave it out.
really interesting though? A few years ago, I read something that said only 3% of money or currency is tangible.
That's crazy.
That's wild.
It's all numbers.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Because when you just send somebody money, it don't even feel like it feels so much easier than just be like,
let me count.
yeah, bro, I'm giving you $100.
Nah, that's a fact.
$1,000.
Right.
If I'm sending you $1,000,
It
it don't
hit
feel like
different.
That's a fact.
and then you realize it's very real, but that it's not real, and like people's statuses are based it's
weird.
It's real crazy.
Mess up your mind.
It's a whole different beast. I feel like that's another episode.
So ladies, we definitely appreciate all the talk. We definitely think we should do like more episodes for sure, because there's so much we can cover. But we do have 5 minutes left, and we like to ask all our guests to define the word progress. You know, that's the name of the show. We talk about getting better growth and all that good stuff. So can both of you guys define what the word progress mean?
I have not thought about, because I would like to put my own spin on that too.
Okay.
Well, I'll talk. So my kids, my young adults, I'm sorry. When we first start class, they look at the assignment list and, oh my God, this is so hard. I'm like, okay, you're not gonna be perfect the first time. So if you see any improvement from you messing up the first assignment, and then you see your grade and I'll write comments, and then the next time you have something a little like your citations are better now. That's progress. So it's little incremental changes that you see towards a goal. I think that progress can be very small. It can be very big. Like we often look at progress like in our bodies, right? So everybody like trying to be fine and stuff. They're like, oh, my stomach flat now. But there's other ways to like look at progress, right? So you maybe reading a chapter or reading a paragraph a day on something that interests you is progress. I think we have to like stop looking at things as so big, right? So like when we talk about generational curses and generational wealth, like let's just bite that down a little bit, because when we look at it really big, it like scares us. I'm not gonna lie, it scares me. So I have to sometimes take it like, okay, one day at a time. So progress is little incremental changes towards your goal.
I would say I would actually like to tap into what King said, Martin Luther King.
Come on, Luther.
If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. If you can't crawl, I don't know,
slide on your stomach,
across the floor, do whatever. But whatever, no matter what, keep moving. And to me, that's progress, because as long as you're moving, it could be 3 months from now or 6 months from now. You're so much further ahead than you were when you initially started, because you kept progressing, you kept moving. So I would say that's progress to me.
Y'all killed it.
I was gonna say that's perfect.
Yeah.
You done broke down Martin
right. That's perfect. That's cool.
They
That's
teach
cool.
for a living. They like, let me break this shit down
Right,
way.
because people do get overwhelmed about where they ultimately want to go and don't see
like
the steps they took.
And
So
facts.
Count your blessings.
One last thing, just
For sure.
based on what you said, we have to remember to celebrate even our smallest
Small
wins,
ways, yes.
the smallest victories. Like because I find myself doing that.
Yeah, I have a hard time doing that too.
Like,
let's drink.
Right. Yeah, that's a fact.
I
champagne.
think we all can agree on
Say
that.
no more.
Today I got out of bed.
Right. For real.
Reading,
Yeah.
synthesizing, analyzing, publishing.
Right.
I'm like, man, that's progress.
That's a fact.
Because I don't understand none of the words. Say no.
So silly, man. What's wrong with her?
Hypothesis, precipitation, condensation.
All right, never mind.
So now,
I'm just joking.
but now this has been great, man. We definitely appreciate you, ladies. Let them know your social media handles. Where can they find you guys to, maybe ask more questions?
Our podcast is Politics or Politicking. And then my personal Instagram is _PATR0NA, Patrona with a 0.
Yeah, y'all can find me on Politics or Politicking. I'm more of a low-key
behind the scenes
Right.
joint.
Business.
I'm
This
here.
is my business.
It's always like that though. Yeah.
Strictly business.
I'm definitely gonna follow y'all and stay
affiliation
updated.
to nothing you can't tell me tonight because I don't know where I'm gonna be. Right.
I feel you.
So, but Politics or Politicking, and we have our email address on there and a couple other things.
Our website.
If you check out our website, we have again suggested books, suggested movies.
That's dope.
We even have a Dropbox, so you can read some articles and stuff. We have a couple on there right now: The Responsibility of the Black Political Scientist and the Economic Interpretation of the Constitution. That's a great.
That
read
one's
right
hard.
there.
It's hard though.
But it's a great read.
You should read it because
It's a great read. It breaks down the
great.
Constitution really, like why it was really framed and what their real intent was. But you can find us on there, and we're easy to get in contact with. Email us. We're always responding. Our business number is on there, so we're available.
Say that,
We
okay?
available, but
Facts.
Okay.
Nah, facts.
All right.
That's cool, man. Well, ladies, again, we appreciate you guys' time, okay?
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having
Yep,
I
yep,
really enjoyed it.
absolutely.
Too.
Yep. Well, it's the progress report, you guys. We are out.
We ain't stay at 9. We ain't stay at 9. Tune in every time. We don't do no cap. Report only facts. Progress report. We got the news, new interviews. We got the stats. Keep it a rack. Come join the pack. Know where we at. We ain't stay at 9. Tune in every time. We don't do no cap. Report only facts. Progress report. We got the